The feeling of freedom is one that you recognize and enjoy a lot when you see it in an athlete, an actor, in music. You can feel it in static things like a painting or a piece of sculpture. Sometimes it's spontaneous. Sometimes a lot of planning and hard work has gone into the feeling of freedom. When I put together the book Singing School, I like putting Frank O'Hara's poem, Why I'm Not a Painter, at the beginning, partly because as soon as he says, why I'm not a painter, there's a set of expectations that he seems not to pay any attention to at all. He tells a story about himself and his friend, Mike Goldberg, the painter. I liked having that poem at the beginning of the book, and at the end, John Keats writing a sonnet, which took a lot of nerve in his day, about reading Homer for the first time in a translation. Keats famously talks about Cortez and the Pacific when he might well be talking about Balboa and the Pacific. And what's interesting is that it doesn't matter. Freedom, I think of the moment in a 16th century poem I love. Now winter nights enlarge the number of their hours, and clouds their storms discharge upon the airy towers. Now honey love can wait on waxen lights. And Campion, in that poem, is painting this picture of a castle on a stormy, dark night, and people inside are having fun. They're dancing and telling riddles and listening to music. And he makes it seem, it's the number of the hours that enlarge, but the word enlarge makes the night and the castle seem bigger too. Now winter nights enlarge the number of their hours, and clouds their storms discharge upon the airy towers. The moment of freedom in that poem for me is when he generalizes. In the middle of the poem, there's a line that says, all do not all things well, which is kind of a funny, true, somewhat so what thing to say. All do not all things well. Then he says, some knotted riddles tell, some measures comely tread. The fun of the people in the castle is evoked partly by the pleasure you can feel Campion taking, like a good stand-up comic, in interrupting himself with all do not all things well.